Hello everybody and welcome to another Scream Queens review. Today it is Season 1 Episode 4 titled Haunted House. And I just have to ask, what happened tonight? This episode was nowhere near as good as the first three in my opinion, and a lot of it felt just like filler material. So we started with another just really bad opening scene. What was this scene? Can we please get some better opening scenes? It was way too long and the musical choice wasn't really that exciting either. So I'll move on from there. Some other things to note that happened in this episode. Was it just me, or did Dean, Miss Jamie Lee Curtis, get off rather easily? That was kind of suspicious. And we also get Pete and Grace visiting a woman who was at the scene when the girl had her baby and passed away. And this woman's name is Mandy, and she would predictably not survive the episode tonight. We also find out that our friend Zayday is running for president of the sorority, and Miss Chanel is not happy about this at all. This was all basically the first half of the episode, and not really a lot happened. But then we were partially saved by my buddy Chad Radwell. Man, is this guy interesting. And now he's got a little bit of a thing going on with Hester, it looks like, who easily had her best night tonight. These two characters had 3 scenes together, I think, and they were easily the highlight of the episode. These two were really the only thing that was hilarious and good about tonight's episode. More Chad and Hester, please, in my opinion. So we also get an important scene where Grace approaches her father, thinking that she could have been the baby in the bathtub, as we found out that the baby, the baby's gender, which was important, and he kind of, shrugs it off as nothing. For some reason, Denise is still all over Zayday, thinking she's the killer, which is a bit strange, and we learn a little more of her backstory as well. And then we get to a really bizarre lunchroom scene, which just didn't really work. This cafeteria scene that I think was supposed to be a funny parody, just like last week's Backstreet's Back scene. The only problem was this really wasn't funny and pretty much struck out. As a matter of fact, pretty much most of the humor in this episode didn't work for me. I laughed a lot the first 3 episodes, sometimes even out loud, and I did have a few chuckles tonight, mostly with Chad and Hester, but for the most part, this episode just wasn't that funny. The episode is saved a little bit by the end. I thought the end was much better done, actually, this week than last week. The last scene gave us a couple of twists. Zayday, of course, not knowing her whereabouts. And then, we get the very last scene, which was a pretty interesting twist, which does make you want to come back. I mean, this episode wasn't terrible. We got a lot of exposition, but it just didn't seem to be done with as much charm and wit as we've gotten in the past. So I think it was kind of an important episode to keep the plot moving forward, although it was very slow moving and parts of it felt like filler, to be honest, but the ending was good, and I liked all the Chad and Hester stuff. It wasn't an awful episode overall. It was just very mediocre, and I don't think the soundtrack was as good this week either. But sometimes early in seasons you get episodes like this. It was pretty much a setup episode, and it was watchable. I was never really in pain watching it. So I'm going to give this episode a 2 out of 5. But I'm still on board for next week. So if you want, you guys can let me know if it was just me or if you thought this episode wasn't quite as good either. As always, thanks for watching.